Getting ready to get started, and we're going to have an opening by Larry Lofton, Ag Farm Division Director.
Good morning, and thank you all for attending. And I know that there are folks online. And today we intend to bring you programs and services from the United States Department of Agriculture, their agencies, National Resource Agency, Rural Development, as well as Farm Service agencies. And I realize that West Memphis, because of its size, is a little large for some of Rural Development's programs and services, but we hope that the information that will be shared here today will be shared with friends and families that maybe live outside of the city limits of West Memphis, because the information is still relevant, as well as programs and services that are offered by Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation. So with that, I'm going to step aside and turn it back over in the hands of our moderator.
Thank you. Great. Next, we're going to have welcome by Mayor Marco McClendon.
Thank you. I'm Mayor Marco McClendon of the great city of West Memphis. First, I want to say thank you all for coming out to our great city and being a part of this great event. The Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation, we want to thank all of you all for being here and sharing this knowledge with our people, our residents, and those that are online. The Tri-State Economic Development Summit here is going to be very informational for all of the entities that are here to get some of this information and do great things around our area, but also inform the people of West Memphis some of the things they can do to make sure that they have more information about farming and different things like that. So as the mayor of the city, I am honored to be here and definitely going to support these endeavors to make sure that this knowledge goes out. I also have some of my departments here, Ms. Brother Peters and Ms. Brian Williamson represent, and he's here to our director, Mr. Chad Bowman, over planning of the planning department. So definitely we can get some valuable information, see how we can definitely use it here in West Memphis as well as share some of this information. I was just talking with Mr. King. We was talking about some of the things that Little Rock has done as well. So definitely we want to make sure that we show that love all over the state. And Eastern Arkansas is a community that's definitely open to bring this here and make sure that we can bring value to people around our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we're going to have Dr. Calvin King, our president and CEO, and he's going to share and deliver a message of One USDA Urban and Rural.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
You're welcome.
Let me express my sincere appreciation to the mayor, one, for allowing us to have this opportunity to be here and for host this meeting. We were having some discussions regarding both what this meeting itself would be about, but particularly about some of the resources that's being made available to urban areas, and of course, in comparison to where our office operation is on both locations, both our field office as well as our main office. Then, West Memphis is a metropolitan area because we are very rural, and particularly when you look at West Memphis and it being contiguous with Tennessee, what's going on across the Mississippi River, of course, into the Memphis area. And I know I've seen the mayor on TV on a number of occasions and about things about both partnering with the city of Memphis and Shelby County area. And of course, this is a tri-state. It's a tri-state piece, and hopefully those who are online understand also while the resources and discussion of the meetings being held here, this is intended to reach both Tennessee as well as Mississippi as well, because we are within the context of a tri-state, more or less regional type of connection. That whenever you start to talk about economic growth as well as opportunities and access to resources for economic growth. Moving ahead, of course, Natural Resource Conservation Service, and they'll be coming to you with the details. I had some brief discussion with one of our Farm Service agency representatives, and I had some conversation back at the state office with Natural Resource Conservation Service regarding both the Farm Bill, what is coming up, but more so than anything, those things that exist right now, and what people can take advantage of as it relates to Natural Resource Conservation Services, urban farm, and they call it urban farm, and course, the designated city for the state of Arkansas is Little Rock. But from what I'm able to understand from the Department of Agriculture, as well as with other USDA agencies, state agencies, it will be dealing with an inclusion of all cities, those that are populated and incorporated as, say, a municipality as a whole, as far as the resources concerned. But when you start to talk about urban, and we call it urban micro farm, it has so been defined within the context of the Farm Bill, including the new Farm Bill that is coming out, and how they look at the availability of resources, everything from financing, and with natural resource conservation services, they call it financial assistance now. And it does bring to the community, and it brings to the counties and to the local areas a tremendous amount of resources in a lot of ways. One of the resources and capital investment that USDA has made and continues to make with farmers in agriculture in general, as well as in dealing with the urban farm new initiative, are very major, as I said before. They're very major when you look at the dollar amount. That's one. But the other thing that USDA has talked about for a period of time and continue to be a point of discussion is about equity, particularly equity and building equity within the underserved communities, underserved areas. Now, we all know that Eastern Arkansas and Arkansas to a great extent as a whole, as well as the Delta region, a lot of counties, both within Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, which was designated as part of the Delta Regional Authority, have been designated also over the years as underserved communities or underserved areas. Well, the equity aspect of it in the Equity Commission report talks about a lot of that, as well as what the report itself actually represents, and a lot of the recommendations when it comes down to the need to make investments that create equity opportunity or to bridge what we call the disparity gap that exists in the Delta region and in these particular communities and town, both rural as well as the urban and municipality communities and town. So anyway, natural resource conservation services, they have that on their agenda, on their radar, and they have been working in that area. They have program delivery responsibilities in that area as well. We will hear from them, and of course, we'll have a discussion with them and conversation, and of course, hopefully both engagement from the audience as well as myself. Anything that they talk about to make sure we get it to you as the community itself, both those online and those in person, to the specific one of the details, that it is the outcome of it is that you understand and know the resources, know the benefit of the resources, and how to access those resources, which is most important. One is know the resources, that's available. Two, the benefit of those resources. And then three is access to those resources, that whole process. And that sometimes is where either the barriers come up or where there ends up being a gap, or it is a situation where that disparity ends up being created, or that gap continues to widen because we're not able to deal with the specific process or understand the specific process. All the information is just not there. But that's what this meeting is all about. The other area we're going to talk about is going to be a resource opportunity for beginning and underserved farmers and landowners and ranchers and veterans, and that's an inclusion also of urban areas. Farm Service Agency will be talking about the direct loan. They'll talk about the micro loan. They'll talk about the loan guarantee program that they actually implement. They'll talk about also some of the other program sides of Farm Service Agency, because there are two sides of Farm Service Agency. And sometimes people do not realize that what that role is as it relates to agriculture in general, and what that role is as it relates to the urban agriculture aspect of it. But program, we'll have discussion about that on the financing side, the lending side, and then again on the program side, and the benefit of those programs, how to access them, the benefits of them. And again, whenever you start to talk, investment should be about creating and building equity and being offered in a manner as to how that becomes a reality. As with any particular business enterprise, and elected leadership and all others look at the community from a community perspective and say, how do we create more equity and wealth within our local communities and our areas? A part of an investment in entrepreneurship, and all this is about entrepreneurship. Farmers are entrepreneurs. Urban agriculture is entrepreneurship. But anytime you make an investment, capital type of investment, it is about making that investment with an intent of making profit. And whenever you talk about profit, the bottom line basically behind that is that we now have a equity position or a strong equity position within the context of our business. And to the extent that we have a greater equity position holdings within the context of the community, to that extent, communities are strong. So again, we'll talk about that from the FSA perspective, and then we'll talk about USDA rural development. I'm not sure if USDA rural development will be here. If they are not here, then I'll come back and talk more specifically in detail as to what USDA rural development has to offer, both from the housing perspective, one, from the rural business enterprise financing that they have available both on the grant side as well as on the loan side. We'll also talk about some of the other programs that they have and they implemented on the energy side is another one that they provide financing on for the grant side. And they have both the grant and the loan. They're the big grant and lending side as far as program service delivery. So we'll actually talk about that. Other areas is solutions and resources for air property. Now I'm sure the mayor knows, Mayor Clinton knows, you can be rural, you can be urban. The only area that I know of, well, and I probably should change this, I may get corrected a little later down the line, either our own line, but that'll be definitely in what you call not just urban, but metropolitan areas. I haven't found run into an issue where air property was an issue when it had to do with airspace. And when I say airspace, the space that on top of buildings and the division, if that becomes an issue, they're gonna have some serious challenges on how do you divide airspace. I guess to be based on that property that is on the ground that the space above is on. But anyway, neither here nor there. The issue around air property has been a challenge. Air property also has been a barrier, and it can be a barrier even after you listen to the resource individual talk. And we'll have detailed discussion about that, how it can be a barrier to accessing some of the resources that's available, both with Farm Service Agency as well as with USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. It can be a barrier. If you're talking about accessing financing, if it's with the bank or anything else, whatever those resources are that exist, air property can be a barrier to accessing those resources. We'll talk about possible approaches to addressing it as an issue, possible solutions to air property, as well as some of the work that we do from that standpoint, and the new law that exists now within the state of Arkansas under the Unified Air Property Act. And we were one of the organizations that played a major role in getting the law changed back some years ago from what the old law was, that actually was a major contributor to a lot of land loss, particularly in the minority community, in the African American community. But we will talk about that on the air property issues, barriers, as well as that possible solutions to it. The other thing we're going to have some discussions on is drone technology itself. Drone technology from an agricultural standpoint, but of course, drones and that technology is advancing more and more today. And the city of West Memphis may even be using drone technology now as part of its whole approach in dealing with management in certain areas. In certain cases, you'll find that you have the fire departments that use them if they're dealing with some surveillance, looking at certain areas where fires exist. I'm saying fires in rural areas in forestry. They use them in forestry. They also use them when it comes down to dealing with crop production as well. If you're scouting fields from that standpoint. And it has been proven that the use of drones and the technology and how it's advancing in drones can be a major cost saving in a lot of ways, both from the production agriculture perspective, as well as dealing with other areas. Contractors and construction, they use drones. We use them ourselves when it comes out to dealing with observing or looking at a particular situation that exists with some of our properties, and we have investments in real estate property, affordable housing. So I'm going to stop at that point because I'm really looking forward to both engaging with and having discussions with, and again, we say roundtable discussions, where we actually have discussions with USDA about these resources, access to those resources, the benefit of the resources, and the availability of them within the context of your own community, wherever you are, rural, urban, either way it goes, those resources are there. Now, again, we're glad to be here. We thank the mayor for this opportunity for hosting this meeting, and we really want to engage with both those online as well as those that are in person as we move forward with the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dunn. Now that you've heard briefly about national resource and conservation services and micro urban farming and conservation program opportunities. So we're going to have a representative who is Marshall Wadley, our district conservationist, here to speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. King, for having us here. My name is Marshall Wildy. I'm the district conservationist here in Benton County with the NRCF. I've got almost 20 years with the agency. I started in Missouri in 2005, and I came to Arkansas in 21. I've been DC in Benton County since May 21st of 2023. Our three main programs that I deal with are EQIP, CSP, and the ACP program. The big one that we mess with is EQIP, the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. This is a program that has lots of fund codes underneath it. So one application would bring many chances of getting funded into a contract. Some of those fund pools are local funds, the high tunnel, soil health, urban agriculture, new and urban agriculture that's gaining a lot of speed. This is a cost share program. It's not a loan, it's not a grant. It's a cost share program that is paid off of rates from the state economists that they're already set. So what that really means is, say you get a high tunnel contract, the cap on the high tunnel contract practice is $20,736. So what that is I pay $7.20 for a square foot for a high tunnel. So the biggest high tunnel you can have is 2,880 square feet, and that's $20,736. If you build one smaller than that, that's fine. It's just that I'm going to pay $7.20 for that high tunnel. That includes the kit, has to be a new kit, as the construction. It'll be on you to construct the high tunnel and the end caps, and then once all that is built, we check it out, and then we pay you for the high tunnel. Another example is cover crop. We pay our cost share rate at $72.11 an acre for cover crop. The cap on that is $54,000. So if you plant a cover crop on a bigger scale, this isn't under the urban ag fund pool, but it doesn't cost $72 to plant a cover crop, and so that's a potential there for other means. Another program is the Conservation Stewardship Program, CSP. that's mainly for record keeping. It's basically enhancing on what you're already doing in your program. There's several stipulations for it. Land has to be devoted to crop production for at least 4 out of the past 6 years. You have to have control of the ground for at least a year. You have to be listed as an owner-operator or an operator. And the minimum payment for CSP is $4,000 per year. So they raised that from $1,500 recently. Another program is the Agriculture Conservation Easement Program, or ACEP. This is the old WRP program, the Wetland Reserve Program. And what that does is USDA actually pays the landowner an amount for an easement for that property. And they have 10, 30, or perpetual easements, but the only one I've ever seen get funded are perpetual easements, and it'd be forever. Once they pay you for this easement, it's locked in, it will always be into a wetland. So you still own the ground, and you can do whatever you want to with it, but it will always be an easement. Normally there's a 20-acre minimum on this program, but the KKAC organization has a regional conservation partnership program within RCS now. And they're focusing on ground that's under 20 acres. So I'm really hoping this gathers some steam. It's fairly new, but if you have any questions about it, please come in the office and we'll try to find out more. To get into these programs, there's an application process. And step 1 is you get a farm track number from FSA if you don't already have it. Next, we'll fill out the application, we'll plan stuff, make sure you're eligible with the office across the hall, and then we'll rank the application and see where it scores. There's a ranking period that's usually during the winter that we go through for every application we receive. By all means, please come into the office, talk to us, fill out an application, and we'll be sure to steer you in the right direction on that. If anybody's got any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything. If not, I will pass it on down the road.
Is there another zone? Do you have any questions, Doc?
I'm going to come back after everyone's presented, and so we can discuss more in detail the process and deal with the programs.
All right, thank you, Marshall. Next, we're gonna have a program with the Farm Service Agency with the farm program and farm loan. Who's going to speak first? Okay. Zachary or Cheryl? Sure.
I will.
Farm loan. Okay.
Zachary is the most important, so we'll leave him for last as far as Farm Service Agency. I am the farm loan manager in Poinsett County, Arkansas. I also service Crittenden and Mississippi counties. A brief history of my employment with the agency. I started in 1999 in Poinsett County as a temporary employee. I've worked in a lot of counties. I went from Poinsett to Jackson, from Jackson down to Southwest Arkansas. And I've come back full circle, and I'm in Poinsett County again. The man who sat in the office next to me is my boss now, Gregory Smith. He's here today too, so I have to make a good impression. But one of my, I guess, passions about my job is that I'm able to serve farmers and help people get started. And since I started in 1999, one of the things that has really changed within farm loan programs is our definition of a farmer. Because when I started, a farmer was a row crop farmer who had a lot of acreage and mass-produced crops. And we've really branched out. It started with the micro lending program that we have, where we could make loans to smaller scale farmers. And now we've broken that down even to urban lending. So the backyard farmers, the people who sell at farmers markets, have more opportunity to take advantage of our programs now. Also want to echo in my NRCS colleague and say that if you find yourself at the point you want to take advantage of a microloan, which is defined as a loan of $50,000 or less, the first thing I would recommend you do is go see Mr. Zachary Beaver, who's going to be speaking after me. Get yourself a farm number, get information about farm insurance policies for smaller farmers, and just the different programs you can sign up for as a smaller farmer, as an urban farmer. Right now in Poinsett County, I don't have a lot of urban producers. I have a couple that are actually located here in West Memphis, and for the most part, they normally do well. I've found we're very flexible with our loans and our repayment schedules. I have found that it's helpful with the smaller farmers, those who are growing vegetables, those who are growing fruits for sale at farmers markets, to set them up to where they make a small payment monthly instead of one big lump sum payment at the end of the year or in the spring. That way they'll have that income when their crop is coming off to put money back into that operation, and then through the winter they can continue to make that smaller monthly payment with their non-farm income. And that kind of helps them it allows them to grow their operation without the stress of having a $2,000 or $3,000 lump sum payment once a year. When you don't know how your crop is going to perform, or it just gives them more peace of mind to have that option. And I'll always try to work with the producer to work out payment schedules, do what's going to be best for them. Also, my door is always open to people if you need help filling out an application, or if you even just need to come in and say, I have this idea, I want to talk it through with you, get your opinion, see if you think it's going to be successful or if I'm just wasting my time. I really appreciate that. As a farm loan manager, I like to be able to have that type of open discussion with my customers and my potential customers. I think I said this, so bear with me if I'm repeating. My children tell me I do it quite often. They really do. Our loan limit on the microloan is $50,000. That's there if it's needed, but generally for someone who's starting out in an urban setting, you're probably not going to need quite that much. I can sit down with you and help you work out a budget. I'm sure Dr. King has the staff that would also welcome you to come in and work with them and help you get a budget together before you come see me. And I'll sit down with 2 or 3 people. I don't mind. If you want my input, I'm willing to give it. I'm not going to tell you what to do because you're the farmer. That's not my job. But I'm always welcome to any questions. I'm always open to any feedback. The other thing that I would like to briefly touch on is our youth lending program. We in Poinsett County do not have a lot of youth loans, and I think that's because we don't really have the sponsorship that is like we don't have ALCDC that works in Poinsett County, and I don't know what there is in Blytheville or West Memphis right now, but we have a youth loan. The limit right now is $5,000 for youth projects. The youth has to have a sponsor from an organization such as 4-H, FFA, the ALCDC. They have a really good youth program as well. And they have to have written consent of a parent to take out that loan. Normally, the loans for youth are to purchase an animal for showing or to have a small garden. They have to be agricultural related. And with the youth loan, the payment will be due when either the animal is shown and sold or when the garden comes up. Like if it's for, I'll do the same with the youth loan as I'll do for an adult loan. It's a good, to me, one of the best benefits of a Farm Service Agency youth loan is that it teaches that child to manage their money. It gives them the responsibility of taking care of animals or taking care of their garden. I just feel like it's a really good program, and I don't feel like it's something that we don't really share as much as we should. The next level loan that we have is the loans for the larger farmers, and those can go up to $400,000 for operating. That includes that's two types of loan. You can get an operating loan for your annual needs, which would be cash rent, which would be your seed, your fertilizer, and that would be paid back at the end of the year when that crop is harvested. And we also have a loan for equipment to take care of your crops. That is termed out over 7 years. And I'm not going to say the problem, but I will call it a drawback of our program, is that the $400,000 is split between those two needs. And it's really, I'm seeing it becoming a lot more difficult to maintain a farm for $400,000. The cost is growing yearly. So if you need more than 400, what we will do is we can guide you toward a guaranteed lender. And a lot of times what we will do is Farm Service Agency will finance the equipment because our interest rates are lower and our terms are better. And the guaranteed lender will provide the annual operating portion. So they'll provide the cash rent, they'll provide the seed and fertilizer funds. So I think that's pretty much covered all of my types of loans. I know just enough about the heirs relending program to get me in trouble. I will say that I was at a meeting in the latter part of June, and the Deputy Administrator of Farm Loan Programs was there, and he touched on the heirs relending program, and basically his comments were the program did not work out the way the national office anticipated it to work when the idea was conceived. He spoke like there was very little participation in the program. I believe he said in the years that it's been introduced, I think there have been 2 loans made. And I believe they were tribal loans, which the administrator is, I think he's a Sioux Indian. Not 100% sure, but I'm not going to say that's why they focused on tribal loans, but that was where the money went for that program. The heirs relending program, the way it is set up, it's to try to help people maintain their family ground. With heirs property, one of the issues that we have as an agency, like for me to make a loan in 2024, you may have a 80-acre tract or a 60-acre tract, and it'll have 12 different family members on that tract of land. When I make a loan, if I have to take a mortgage on that tract of land, every family member has to agree to that. And they have to agree to sign that mortgage. And I don't know if y'all have siblings, but I have 3 siblings and the 4 of us can't agree on anything. So but the heirs lending program was created so that that property could be kept in the family, and 1 or 2 people could repurchase that property or buy out their siblings and kind of consolidate it and keep it in the family at the same time. So that is the extent of what I know on the heirs lending program. So when you start getting ready to ask questions, you can ask me the question and I will happily respond to it once I have spoken to someone who knows better than I. With that, I'm going to wrap up my presentation and give the forum back to Ms. Janie.
Right. Thank you, Cheryl. Is there any questions on Zoom online out here for Dr. King? No? You want to wait?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. That was from Farm Alongside Farm Service Agency. Our next on the program is Zachary Beavers, which is County Executive Director for Creighton County.
Yes, ma'am. As she said, I'm Zachary Beaver, Creighton County FSA County Executive Director. I'm going to go over some setting up a farm and becoming a farmer through our office. FSA defines a beginning farmer or rancher as a person who has not operated a farm or ranch for more than 10 years and materially and substantially participates in the operation. For a legal entity to be considered a beginning farmer, all members must be related by blood or marriage and must be beginning farmers. In addition to the county office staff, USDA has a beginning farmer and rancher coordinator. They can also assist you in understanding the USDA process and find the right assistance for your operation. Whether you are currently farming or would like information on getting started in Arkansas, please contact Alvin Peer, the NRCS outreach coordinator at alvin.peer@usda.gov. So how to start working with FSA? Your first step should be to contact your USDA service center and make an appointment. And how do you find your local office? www.farmers.gov. FSA offers help for unique concerns of producers who meet the USDA definition of historically underserved, beginning, socially disadvantaged, limited resource, and military veterans. In addition, women in agriculture are helping pave the way for a better future. Urban agriculture refers to the cultivation, processing, and distribution of agricultural products in urban and suburban settings, including things like vertical production, warehouse farms, community gardens, rooftop farms, hydroponics, aeroponics, aquaponic facilities, and other integrations. Urban farmers work and gardeners work among diverse populations to expand access to nutritious foods, foster community engagement, provide jobs, educate communities about farming, and expand green space. If you are an organic farmer, you can apply for the same loans and programs as conventional farmers. You may also apply for USDA to pay a portion of your certification through FSA's Organic Certification Cost Share Program. How do you obtain a farm number through FSA? If you've not worked with the USDA before, you must register your farm with FSA to be eligible for any farm programs. You must also have a farm number to apply for programs at NRCS. And there is no minimum acreage to register as a farm. So when you set up your appointment with FSA, you need to be prepared to provide your address along with your social security number or a tax ID number. Your farm will be located through the county GIS system to see if it already has a number, and if not, a number will be issued to you. If you purchased land in the past few months, you must bring a property deed, as the system may not be updated to recognize your name associated with your property. If you do not own the land, you must bring a lease agreement to show you have control of the property. If your operation is incorporated or an entity, you need to provide proof that you have signature authority and can legally enter into contracts with USDA. So again, your first step should be going to farmers.gov. It has all the information you need to get started with us. We also have newsletters you can subscribe to keep up with the latest information. You get that at farmers.gov/subscribe. We also offer text message services to allow you to know what's going on with the latest in the county. For example, if you want to sign up for Crittenden County, you would text AR Crittenden to 372-669. And that would get you signed up for our text messages services. We're also in the process of signing up for county committee elections. If you want to run for county committee election, and if you are in or around Marion, Clarkdale, Turrell, or Crawfordsville, please contact our office. August 1st is the deadline to sign up to run for county committee. And that's all I have.
Okay, sir. Okay. Is there any questions online? Are there any questions down in the audience? Would like to say something? I have any questions? All right. And thank you, Farm Service Agency, Cheryl Brooks and Zachary Beavers. Next we have on our program is Rural Development Representative, Kathleen Bumstead. Okay. Area Director for Rural Development.
Yes, hello, my name is Kate Bumstead. I'm the Area 3 Director. Our office is located in Forest City. I supervise 11 counties here in Arkansas, pretty much going from Memphis to Little Rock off of I-40, north and south. 3 of my counties include Crittenden, Lee, and Monroe County. A little bit about myself, as I am new to this position. I'm actually a transfer coming from the Small Business Administration. I have over 20 years of lending experience, going from residential mortgages to commercial lending, small business lending, and as well as disaster lending. So as well as working for the Small Business Administration, I've also worked for the Office of Disaster Assistance, otherwise known as ODA. When I applied for this position, applied for the transfer, I was very interested in coming to this area. Part of my experience with disaster lending is going in and helping people when they're at their time of their greatest need. So I've been fortunate enough to be on site helping people for many years through hurricanes, earthquakes, and other natural disasters. So one of the reasons that I was so attracted to come to this area was the Delta region. This is obviously one of the poorest areas in the country and where I felt that I could affect the most change. So a little bit about USDA. We provide loans or grants to either buy homes, build homes, or refinance homes in low income and low population areas. We also provide loans and grants to start businesses. We also provide loans and grants to municipalities, including fire departments, police departments. We do loans and grants to build community facilities like Boys and Girls Clubs. We also provide loans and grants to nonprofits. I'm going to hand over the microphone to Seth a little bit. I've been talking a lot this week, so I'm going to lose my voice, but this is one of my employees, Seth Harrison, and he's going to talk to you a little bit more about our programs.
Good morning. My name is Seth Harrison of Rural Development. I just came on to our office here at Forest City into the community programs and water and environmental programs. So I'm still a little fresh on that, but I have had several years in the housing. So I can tell you all about our housing grant and loan programs. I'll start off with that first. As far as our housing programs go, we have what they call a direct home loan. If you're trying to acquire a home, that direct home loan, it can be used to buy an existing home or build one. As far as the requirements go, as mentioned before, most of the West Memphis city limits are going to be out of what we consider rural area. However, you can get pretty close to the city. If you are seriously interested, I'd advise on going to our website. Usually, the easiest way to find our map, we have a map that will show you what areas are eligible. The easiest way to find it is just to go straight into Google, type in RD eligibility map, and it will usually be the first option. It'll be a map that we have that shows what areas are considered not rural for our program. And they're usually highlighted in orange. So when you pull it up, you'll see West Memphis for the most part be highlighted orange, but you can get pretty close, as well as pretty close to some of the surrounding cities like Marion. And as far as the loan itself goes, the applicants just have to be considered low or very low income for the area they're in. Generally, for most of Arkansas, it differs on every county, so it can be quite a bit different for. But for the most part of Arkansas, that's going to be anyone whose annual total household income, their income for the entire household, if it's 55 to 60,000 or less. Some counties will be higher just depending on their income. It may go up to 62, 65,000. We'll just kind of have to work with whoever we can by each county. Can you hear me better? Sorry about that. As far as credit requirements go, we have pretty low credit requirements for our borrowers. The main thing we look for is a credit score of 640 or higher. It's not an automatic disqualifier if someone does not have that credit score. We just might have to look a little bit deeper at their credit. So we might have to get some references from the utility providers, maybe someone you pay monthly insurance to, and get some references from them. Because part of it is to help, mainly geared towards folks that wouldn't be able to get home loan assistance otherwise from a private lender or something like that. Beyond the credit and income requirements, there's really not too much of it, just being, a U.S. citizen, being in a rural area. The loan itself, as far as restrictions on the home, generally we don't do loans on properties that are larger than an acre. Sometimes we will, just depending on the lot. The main thing is we don't do lots that are subdividable. So, if you're looking at a lot that's 3 to 4 acres, that might be a little bit too big for us. But if it's like 2 acres or 1.5 acres, and you're going to build right in the middle of it, there's no good way to split it up. Most of the time they'll work for us, but we just kind of go case by case basis. As far as the maximum square footage on these homes, we don't have any restriction anymore on that. At one time it was 2,000 square feet or less, but they have since removed that due to COVID and the limited availability of homes now. So they've taken away that maximum square footage, which is really beneficial for a lot of applicants. As far as minimum square footage, this has to be a minimum of at least 400 square feet. Otherwise, you start getting into tiny home territory there. That loan, we just have one application for the loan, and whoever applies, if you apply and you're eligible, that application, it can go towards buying a home or building one. As far as the buying process goes, you just apply with us, see if you're eligible. If you are, we determine how, if you are, based on your income and credit requirements. And then you can go from there as far as looking for a home and getting into a real estate contract and going with the appraisal and going on from there. If you're looking at wanting to build a home with us, it's the same process, just apply. We'll determine if you're eligible or not for the program. If you are, then you just go find a contractor of your own choosing. They just have to be a licensed contractor. And once you do that, we meet with them, go over the home plans, get an appraisal done, make sure everyone understands the whole building process, and then get them started. As far as building with us, if you are looking for contractors, one of the restrictions we do have, for the most part, contractors will not get paid more than 60% of the cost of the home while it's under construction. That unfortunately it does limit a lot of contractors, because that is a lot of finances to be out during the construction process, but part of it is to protect the borrower and, you know, make sure they have a contractor who's really financially secure to take on the project. So that's just one thing to think about if you are looking at, wanting to build a home for us. However, we also do have what we kind of call conditional commitments. And so that'd be if someone wants to build a home through us and they found a licensed contractor is a good builder, they can go to them and they say, I want to apply for a USDA loan to try to build a home. And if they're eligible, what that contractor can do, we'll provide them a letter saying our applicant's eligible. And if you can build a home for them, we're kind of guaranteed in a way that we're gonna have a loan waiting for them when the home is finished. And so this way that contractor can take that letter from us, he can go to a private bank and get a construction loan saying like, hey, I have a buyer lined up. And then he can build a home out of his own pocket with his construction loan. He doesn't have the same financial restrictions that we impose on him if they're just building directly through us. So he can kind of go build that home on his own with his own construction loan. And then when it's finished, we have the rural development loan lined up for the home buyer, where they can just go right into purchasing it and kind of get past some of the headaches of construction costs and lining that up with rural development and the contractor. And this part of the state, I don't think we have any self-help going on. Where I came from in Western Arkansas, we did have what was called self-help construction. It would be something, if there were some groups out there looking at starting it up, it would be an awesome program to see in this area. Essentially what that was, is we had some nonprofit groups that were contractors. They had construction knowledge. They knew how to build homes, and what they do is they'll find homeowners or find buyers, they'll send them our way. They apply for a loan with us. If they're eligible, the self-help groups help them build the house themselves. And so they were able to save a lot of labor costs. They could do a lot of stuff themselves and didn't require, you know, a contractor to do like electrical work or something like that. But they was able to do a lot of the work themselves, like hanging the sheetrock, hanging the insulation, painting their cabinets. And in the end, it saved them a lot of labor. And usually by the time the home was constructed, they had a lot of what they call sweat equity in the home, just because of all their own labor. And, you know, just off the top of my head, some of the loans I did in Western Arkansas, the total cost of the project was $125,000 to build the home. But since the homeowner had done so much of the work themselves and saved so much on labor, when the home was finished, it actually appraised. The home was actually worth like $190,000, which is awesome because that homeowner is coming into that home with already $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of equity in it, which is outstanding, especially in this day and age. To be building for less than $150,000 is really unheard of. So that is also a really great program. As far as our repair program goes, we have what they call the 504 Repair and Rehabilitation Grant and Loan Program. It's one application that gets used for our grants and loans. Kind of the way the process is, you just take that application and fill it out and apply. And based on your information, we kind of determine from there whether you are eligible for a grant or a loan or a combination of both of them. As far as grant restrictions go, an applicant does have to be 62 years of age or older. Our grant maximum right now is $10,000. So if you are able to, you know, do all of the repairs you're requesting within that $10,000, we don't have to look at your credit at all for a grant. As far as the loan goes, our maximum loan amount on the repairs is $40,000. We have less stringent credit requirements on our repairs, so as far as that goes, we look for a credit score of 620 or higher, but it's also the same way with our home purchasing and building loans. We're not just real strict on that credit. So if you don't have a credit score of 620 or higher, it's the same deal. We might just look closer at your utility providers, anyone you pay insurance to, or some sort of monthly bill where we can get a good idea of your repayment ability. So this is kind of the same as our direct home buying and building loan, where we don't have any contractors on staff or anything like that. It'd just be a licensed contractor that you want to choose to do the work. The best way to find them that I've found is to go to the Arkansas like contractor licensing board and search contractors in your area, or just call your local chamber of commerce. Usually they'll have a list of licensed contractors on hand, and that's a pretty good way to track them down. You just apply if you're eligible for the program. Then we'll kind of organize a closing. We'll meet with the homeowner and the contractor, go over the work to be done. Once we take care of that, we can get the work started. I'd say that grant is limited to applicants that are 62 years of age or older. Same deal, it is limited to rural areas, so you'll want to check that rural property eligibility map and just make sure you are in a rural area. They relaxed a lot of the property restrictions on it. It kind of follows the same as our home building and buying restrictions as far as the property size and that sort of thing. We kind of just do it on a case by case basis, though, try to justify what we can. So if you have a property that's maybe kind of iffy, maybe you have some income producing activity on it or something like that. Sometimes we can't do those, but the best thing to do is just get a hold of us and we'll kind of figure it out on a case by case basis. And with the repair program, it kind of goes into the what we've been talking about, the ownership issues. We do run into that a lot. On these repair loans and grants, you do have to own the home in your name. I know we run into it a lot where a parent had owned the home and passed it on, but it just never got passed on into the children and spouse's name. If that is the case, unfortunately, we can't do anything until they have a clear title to the home in their name, and that's when we can be of assistance there. So going on to our other programs, as far as our business grant loan programs, I'm not overly familiar with them, but it's mostly handled out of our state office in Little Rock. But we do have some programs that are really interesting to look into. Our main program that we hear a lot about is what they call REAP, Rural Energy for America program. And so that program is for a lot of producers, especially if you have like greenhouses or poultry houses and things of that line. It helps you get like solar panels put on those, like a solar panel on top of your greenhouses or solar panels on top of your poultry houses to reduce some energy costs. As well as maybe doing some more energy efficient type projects around your property. So it's really great. We also have a value-added producer grant. And so that would be, if you're one of these small farmers, like let's say if you have a greenhouse where you're growing a lot of fruits and you want to branch off into strawberry jelly production or, pickle vegetable production, that would be something to really look into, that value-added producer grant and loan program, and see if they can help you kind of get that production chain started. And like I said, I'm not overly familiar with those, but if those are kind of programs you want to look into, I'm sure get a hold of our state office and go from there. I know they also have some stuff on if you're interested in getting into like fertilizer production, biodegradable fuel production, for sure check them out in their programs. Beyond that, I'll get into our community facilities and water and environmental programs. So our community facilities loans and grants, they're open to municipalities and certain nonprofits. And so just kind of like Kate mentioned, they do a lot of loans and grants for cities going towards like building a new fire station, give them a grant to get a new fire truck or police vehicle. We've recently done one for acquiring a new garbage truck. So we do a lot of those projects as well as the community centers, Boys and Girls Club. As far as those projects go, if there is an interested city, they got to be a rural city. We do base it on population size. Just get a hold of us at our Fort City office and start meeting with us. We'll go over kind of financials and the project scope and see what all we can do and can help with. Our loans, we go up to a 40-year term on our loans. We have very low interest compared to a lot of private lenders. There is some restriction kind of with that. If there's a city or municipality or nonprofit, if they have the ability to get assistance through a private lender, we highly encourage them to do that. But we are kind of a backup for those areas that if they just really have a hard time getting the assistance they need from private lenders, and they just have no other option, for sure come to us, because that's where we want to meet you. As far as our grants go, on these community projects, we go up to a $50,000 grant. And so I said, in certain instances, that would completely pay for a new police vehicle, a new fire truck, or something along those lines. So if that is a need in one of these small communities, please for sure reach out to us. On our water and environmental programs, we do water and waste loans and grants for a lot of municipalities around here. A lot of the towns in this area, their water system supported by financial backing through us. They were able to get loans and grants through us 20, 30, 40 years ago to get their water systems in place. And of course, the water systems get old too, so we'll probably continue to do some lending on them. But if there are some municipalities in the area looking at trying to improve their water system, dig new wells, wells dry, or they get faulty over time, or they need new water pump equipment, for sure look at us and can get all those forces. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Did you have anything else, Kathleen? Thank you. You sure? Okay. All right, thank you. With rural development, just someone, yes.
The interest rates on your loans significantly cheaper than they are.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because I forgot to mention that. So as far as our repair loans, it's up to 20 years repayment on those, and it's 1% interest. It's always 1% interest, never changes. So I'm glad you brought that up. That is really great. I've seen a lot of people get assistance through this for, a new heat and air system. And I'm glad you brought that as well. The problem's mainly geared for major health and safety hazards in the home. So if your heat and air goes out, you need a new roof, need new windows, door, your front door is unsafe, rotten floors. I mean, we do all of that. With the grants, we try to prioritize the most major hazards first, but loans are a little less restricted. You can kind of use them for modernizing a little bit and all that. As far as our home purchasing loans, the interest rate right now, it's kind of recently changed. So I'm a little fuzzy on it, but it's probably between 4.5% to 5%. So generally, we're usually like 1% or 2% lower, maybe 3% lower than private lenders. And our long terms on that goes up to 33 years. In certain instances, depending on someone's circumstances, they might be able to get a 38-year long term, which is, generally going to be very affordable. So,
what's your name again, sir?
Seth Harrison. Yes, sir.
Follow up with that. Just as a follow up to that, just to make it clear, to qualify for these loans, you have to meet or be under the income guidelines. So to me, it's basically the poverty guidelines. So most people who, let's say, have a dual income household with children, that income guideline might be about $35,000 a year to qualify for those. So our programs especially are geared towards low income, low population areas. Our interest rates, like on a conventional mortgage, as he was saying, are typically similar to like a VA mortgage. So it would be like the prime rate minus, as he said, 1 or 2%. But again, to qualify for that, the guidelines are very strict, and they don't waive on the income or number of members in your household. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to make sure I heard that clear. Well, income guidelines, this is on 504 loan?
Yes, sir.
504.
Yes, sir.
And I know you have the grant program, and that's specific requirements from the grant. One that has to do with health issues, if there are certain other issues in the household, that takes priority. Of course, you have to be 62 years of age old, right? That's on the grant program, $10,000.
Yes, sir.
Now, on your 504, you said the strict said very straight, income wise, and that being, is it very low, or moderate?
Our repair program is very low income. So generally, most counties, that'd be 35,000 or less. And our home purchasing buying goes up to low, but on our repairs, it is limited to very low, and that's for the total household. That's for the combined income of everyone in the household.
Right, okay. So, yeah, I only said that to say this, you know, when you're dealing with the particular 504 and substandard housing is a big issue in Eastern Arkansas. And the population that should benefit, need the benefit of the program, for the most part, are those who are elderly and set income. One, they meet the age requirement. Two, they have minimum income in this populated area. The other question I wanted to ask in regard to that, now on the 504, is what is the grant program? Now, West Memphis does qualify. Or does it qualify based on population? I want to see if you have clarity on that.
West Memphis, for the most part, is not.
Okay, so the limits of West Memphis does not. What about Proctor?
Yes, Proctor's an eligible area. Yes, sir.
Okay, so Proctor area is used, basically all the surrounding area, as long as they, what about Marion?
Parts of Marion, maybe about half of Marion is eligible, but the other half's not. The half closest to us.
Okay, and the population eligibility for it within, as far as cities concerned, is what?
They kind of just changed on the area. It's not strictly population concern. Sometimes it's based on whether the area is rural in character. So that can change, but generally it's going to be areas that are like 20,000 to 15,000 people or less. This is kind of the population criteria they look at mostly. Some areas they'll kind of bump it up a little bit if there's like a college or maybe a prison in the area. They won't count them as part of like the permanent population. So there's some areas that they might seem more metropolitan, but they can still be considered rural. So just like kind of like with Marion, like I said, you can get pretty deep into Marion and still be considered rural for our programs. And when you look at that property eligibility map, there's kind of, it's not just like a solid shape, like a solid square, solid circle over West Memphis. There's kind of like little corners and nooks and crannies. So there might be certain streets that we would consider rural and other streets we don't. So you can get pretty close into the edge of city limits. Like the best thing to do if someone is interested would be check out the RD, the rural development property eligibility map and look down at the exact address of where they're at, because you might be right on the line.
But no, I said that to say is one is that the high need population or elderly population, particularly when you start to talk about the African American community, minority community, in Christian County in general, and also when you start to talk about the West Memphis area, you're talking about one on substandard housing. Okay, the age range is there, because that's also where you find a lot of substandard housing in that age range, 62 years of age or older. Set income also, in most cases, definitely far below $35,000. You know, if you look at the census information, it's considerably below. It would fall within a very low category. The other reason I asked that question is because, you know, the makeup of this area, with the areas being contiguous one with the other, then I would ask my next question would be Sunset, and which Sunset qualifies?
I'm sorry, which what?
Sunset. Oh, you know what Sunset is, right? Now you gotta know what Sunset is. It's a very small town.
Sorry.
Okay, so you can get West Memphis and cross the street and get Sunset.
Okay, well, what I wanted to do is go back and clarify the definition of rural. So when it comes to, for real estate purposes, the definition of rural is the access to amenities. So when Seth was talking about certain areas of what we would perceive as a larger city like West Memphis, certain areas of that could qualify because, as he said, they would be considered rural. Rural is more than 2 miles to, you know, your nearest facility, basically. So when we start to define what is rural, it's the access to the distance of amenities, meaning even to go down to, like, if you had a medical emergency, how long?
No,
right?
I still understand. I do not.
Right.
I do not. So you're talking about, and that's why I want to make sure there's clarity in. Okay. So a lot of times we miscommunicate making general statements versus being very specific as it relates to. Because even in West Memphis itself, you know, you'll find areas where you would consider more or less a food desert. You know, and so access to certain amenities that would be the norm for certain other more metropolitan areas. So I clearly relate, but I want to make sure that everyone else understands also. You could be on one side of West Memphis and the distance to Kroger, you know, maybe 2 miles or 3 miles, you know, to get into where the Kroger area is. And the same thing when you start to talk about hospital. Okay, so the hospital unless you're talking just general medical, not medical clinic, but you know, that's one of the things you consider as the amenities and support basis as far as the business concerned. Well, the hospital is what Baptist Hospital now, and a lot of the areas, as far as that being one of those points you have to consider, in particular, the African American community is here now, then the hospital is going to be considerably off and would meet that 2, 3, or 4 mile, maybe even farther than that, probably up to about, I was looking at some of the measurements ranges as I was coming in, up to the Redding Street area here, but I would be up to roughly 4 to 5 miles, okay? So, Mr. Holmes and I was listening to the question, going on the eligibility, and then particularly at 4-4, and I'm hoping, in particular in representation from the commissioners on the side with West Memphis, that they clearly understand, and it just gets, you know, to the mayor and those who are working with the mayor on it, that one, West Memphis qualifies, and you really need to look at the plat of the city itself, and we'll be more than happy to work with both the city as well as the residents from that perspective. Look at those areas that meet the eligibility criteria, and knowing where those poverty levels fall and where the substandard housing is in this area. And Montgomery, you have this area, and I would just check it when I said Sunset, because I do know the area. We did a partnership development in Sunset on affordable housing in Sunset, and the same income eligibility criteria, you know, exists. And then I know also you can be in Sunset and step across the street and be in Marion. So when you said Marion qualify a certain areas, so I understand that also. But we're a community-based organization, we do service area. So you have to watch the question, and so I need to put comments, you know, coming back. But the need for clarity, not only from the housing perspective, but also from the business development standpoint, because you have the same issue as far as eligibility. So you have both the grant and the loan program for the small business side. Now, one is what the Rural Business Enterprise Grant, and how does that actually work? I know nonprofits can qualify for the grant program. Municipalities can qualify for the grant program for business development. Am I right? They still qualify too, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm correct, the way it supposed to operate, I used to operate, is that if the city had a business that is willing to locate in the city limits or in a particular location that is eligible, and there is a need for a facility and certain equipment to get that business here, and they've been operating. So this business has been operating for 5 years. Okay, because I know that's the criteria. You know, how long it's been operating as a business. But the business has been operating for say 5 years, small business, and they have opportunity to expand now to be in this area. Now, what's the maximum grant amount and loan amount, and how the city, if it was gonna make application to support expansion of the business in this area, what's the maximum dollar amount?
That is definitely this.
Oh, yeah,
No, that's okay.
I wish you had passed it on.
Gotta learn to answer these questions.
As far as Rural Business Incentive, I have not worked in that program. I honestly cannot tell you off the top of my head what those limits are. I'm not sure that they actually have a defined limit. Because they kind of look at everything on a project by project basis to see, you know, what that need is, what they can contribute, and that sort of thing. So I honestly would not know what the limit is on that.
He's correct. It depends on the project, and it depends on, we have a few different programs when it comes to that. But it would depend, basically it would depend on a few different factors. As you said, how long they've been in business, where they're located.
Right.
Sometimes there's requirements that they have to, you know, put up some of their own money. They might have to have matching grants. So it really depends. The only defined limits that we have are for the repair programs. Most of them, the rest of them are just based on market needs. Like if you want to go obtain a loan to build a home under our 502 program, there's not a limit for that program, but there would be a limit on, say, how big of a house you could build, a limit on, you know, how much of your funds you can use. So stuff like that really varies from situation to situation. As Seth said, a lot of our programs don't have defined maximums, except for that 504 repair program.
No. I understand the housing side. Okay, the 504, 40,000 on that, grant 10,000, and then you have the direct loan side. I think that's what $300,000+ down the right. 387 or 300.
387, I think, 386, 385, somewhere.
Right. So the match, there's a cap on that. That's for the direct loan for the house. Then of course the loan guarantee side with the bank, you know, you can do it that way with the house as well. But my biggest concern, and you know, I know some of the individuals here are very active in that community, and I like that with them being here. And two, I want to make sure with them being here and our organization is partnering, you know, with the city of West Memphis, and anything that we can do to assist in the process in dealing with housing development. You know, we want to be able to do that both on the 504 side, the grant side, as well as the 502 side, you know, which is the direct loan side. So I want that was the reason for the clarity when we say just it's not just West Memphis does not qualify, because otherwise, you know, you're dealing with areas that merge right into West Memphis. That's not even 5 feet from West Memphis. That was the sunset question.
Right.
And then the same thing when you gave reference to the mayor, and that's some other areas too. So Mr. Holmes, does that help you any? Yeah, on that, what area is for is one, and then the dollar figure total amount. And I know some others here that's listening very, very, very patiently. Because one, we want you to get the message out more. Two, I know you know a lot of people who have need for financing for housing renovation, maybe interested in being and even building homes. There are areas, and I would just recommend this is deal with the address location where those homes are, where the residents live, and then make contact with USDA Rural Development Authority, or get with us. You know, and we will start to look at the process. I'll come back with a meeting with everyone who has an interest in receiving housing assistance from the 504 program on renovation, as well as the grant program, or the 502 program, either way. I will say also, you know, we have intake forms. So if you have an interest, you know someone who has an interest, please do an intake form and we'll do a follow-up on that based on what the housing needed is concerned. On the business development side, same thing will apply. You know, with the Rural Business Enterprise Grant Program and the Rural Business, they changed that to just one name now, right? It used to be Rural Enterprise Grant Program, and I think it was RSB business to deal with both the grant and the loan program. But from that program perspective, any small business, I would just say check to see if you're in the right zip code, zone, area, and meet the criteria for either the loan or if it's something that the city can facilitate, and the city's facility economic development division here can facilitate that whole process with business expansion. And I say, is it 3 years or 5 years that the individual has to be in business in order for it to qualify for that for the loan and the grant side? It's five. Okay, so the 5-year criteria, business expansion in the right location. I think it's either 10 or 25 million. There may be a combination of that for the business side, where you are expanding the business is going to be job creation, economic development for the area. So, and maybe a combination of both 10 on one side and then 15 on the other. So, can you help me out here?
I'm sorry.
I want you to help me out on the dollar figure and how you can mix and match of the grant and loan.
For the
rural business side.
I mean, that again, it depends on, it's very hard to give broad answers, but you can mix and match. Again, it depends on that particular business, what requirements we have for them to either put up their own funding or obtain matching funding from somebody. But basically, what we always encourage people to do before kind of giving these very broad answers is really to, like you said, get with us and help us point you in that right direction by either pre-qualified or filling out a pre-application form. But we recommend, getting with us, getting with your team of people and coming up with a plan to move things forward. I'm sorry, I was making notes when you were talking earlier, but you were saying something about, getting with your people about new construction in the area. Something that we encourage all of you to do is to go back to any local land banks. A lot of smaller towns don't have land banks, but that's something that we're starting to encourage people to do, is to take a look at the vacant land in their area to see who it's owned by, to see how it can be developed. Something that we've talked a lot about in meetings recently are changes to zoning laws, not only here in Arkansas, but in the country. But that we're looking into more ways, especially on the single family housing program and multifamily housing program, to include either new building methods, or like things like shipping containers. We're not going the tiny home route just yet, but we're trying to get into and trying to encourage people to do a lot of repurposing. A lot of ideas I'm seeing coming forward are, taking schools or medical facilities that are no longer in use and repurposing them into multifamily housing. So there's a lot of ideas out there, and I just really wanted to encourage all of you to think outside of the box. When it comes to our funding, we typically run out of funding every year. So we like to encourage people to kind of talk with us at the beginning, kind of see if we can even help you, at that very beginning stage. We also believe in pointing you, either to other government agencies that we work with, like if we can't help you, maybe FSA can help you or something like that. But we definitely just encourage people to kind of get with us at those beginning stages. Because oftentimes when we say, you know, you might qualify for this program and you kind of start thinking, you know, that's the road that you want to head down. As with any business at the beginning, you kind of want to get your team together. You know, you get either your CPA or your attorney, you get the lending, you get everybody at one table. And that's kind of USDA's mission is not just saying like, okay, you know, we have this one program. I mean, we have, Seth and I brought paperwork with us, you know, we have over 70 programs. So there's not just going to be one program that might fit your needs. There might be multiple. So again, I just wanted to encourage you all to kind of, you know, if you want to make the change in your community, just kind of start with, like, I encourage people to start with where they're coming from and take a look at your surroundings and see, you know, again, if you're a mayor, if you're on a city council, or if you're at the county level, getting to know the land banks, getting to know the vacant properties in your area, because that's the easiest place to start. But again, in terms of one business program, we've expanded to so many different ones. So again, we have over 70.
I really appreciate that, and I agree with you 100%. You know, you have to look at diversity and particularly talking about community economic development, entrepreneurship, particularly from the business side. I will say this also, we're working on something now. And have you ever worked with that home loan bank in creating that diversity and as far as investments with the bank and RD and both the business development, office housing?
No, we have not.
Okay. Well, we're planning hopefully to have a meeting and to get people to the meeting to have more discussion than it will be with the Home Loan Bank out of Texas. And of course, with the bankers being there, because one of the biggest resource that is lost for our communities and for our areas is bringing in what you're saying, some of those match dollars from the private sector side, which is through the banks. And that's both for housing. You have affordable housing grant program. That's a multi-million-dollar program, but you have to have a strategy in how you develop the application and the partnerships to leverage that money that makes the amount of the grant money on RD side as well as the 504 program. You can move it from $60,000 to $120,000 for rehabilitation using that affordable program with the bank being a partner to make the application to work with affordable housing in the area. And that's why it's so crucial for me. And when I look at the same thing with the business side, because they have economic development side as well, that offer the grant money, but it only comes through the banks. And we have not utilized these resources, then you say the strategy for partnering with RD on the economic development side, on the business, on the housing side, and the same thing could apply in other areas. And that is sort of yet to be seen, but hopefully we can have those questions asked. We're planning to have a meeting, bringing Federal Home Loan Bank District in to talk about that with the bankers and with RD and others, and how we can benefit from those dollars, when you say match dollars, and hopefully you will explain to them the importance of them participating. I am also on the advisory, so I'll be down there next week talking to them about this.
Yes, we don't work directly with them. I've been at conferences with them, but we don't directly communicate with them. But we would attend the conference with them, yes.
Right, yeah. Well, I want you to attend ours too, but you know, we want to attend the conference, but we also want to come and bring their money too.
Well, obviously, yeah.
And that has not been happening in the Delta. And this is on RD side, housing, business development, another area. Can I go to NRCS now?
Yes, sir.
I think that's all. That's all. Now, then the questions on the housing and on the business side. Yes, sir.
I'm a question. It's Africa, Dr. King. what this meeting you talked about, what is that gonna be?
We don't have that, we're planning it for Forest City, we'll be getting more details out on that. And of course, getting the bankers to the table, we really have to put them at the table with USDA, RD, FSA, as well as NRCS, and with them having a much clearer understanding of the veteran dollars, how it comes in, and the relevance of that to community economic development, one, because they have a community economic development program, the urban agriculture side of it, and how the bankers can facilitate. We have also the equity investment dollars up to $125,000 on equity in with business. That's an unsecured dollar amount that can be implemented through the private sector banks who participate in the economic development initiative. But that's going to be it'll be based in you've got to enforce it at the civic center. That's what I'm misleading. Am I right? Correct. That's what we're planning for now. So, but we've been inviting particular organizational representation and all the top investment individuals to be at the table about this. It'll be limited seating, but and the bankers within the I think 60-mile radius. We bring the bankers, but particularly for this area, Eastern Arkansas, St. Francis County, Brittany County, Monroe County, Phillips County, in those areas. I want to go to NRCF with the Ms. Williams, NRCF with some questions that I know.
Yes, I was going to ask if someone's online. Okay, all right.
No, that's not.
Oh yeah.
With NRCF, I know you gave reference to the dollar amount being $20,700 for the hoop house, and you define it as cost share. Now, the cost share of financial assistance, and I've heard it defined two different ways. One being financial assistance, and not saying cost share now because, but you do have a cap on the $20,700. So if one and the hoop houses come in different sizes relative to the urban farm, if the total cost ends up being $15,000 and they have a budget up to $20,700, now would that possibly mean that they end up being paid for 100% when they make the application?
Yes. If it only costs them, including the kit, labor to build it,
right,
and the end caps, if it only costs them $15,000, yeah, then as long as it's a 30 by 96 building, then I'll pay $20,736.
Okay, all right.
That's last year's cost share rate. Next year is probably going to change.
Right, that's right. And also, and this is for clarity purposes also. Two things that I was mentioning. This is mentioned by RD for public purposes, and I understand that from the development side with the city. On the urban agriculture side, conservation program, and the land bank. I know they've seen, and I've seen other cities where they're doing some amazing things, and communities are with land banks and property that's taken into the land bank itself. And I had a meeting with Little Rock land bank individuals, and they are moving forward with doing urban agriculture, urban farms on land that ends up in the land bank. And so just encourage cities that as you're working with the land bank and as property is being taken in, that you consider how that property will be possibly offered to the public for sale, and how do you deal with making those sales both as a farm and for say residential purposes, either way, but you have that diversity now. The other thing, NRC you mentioned that the $4,500, I think you mentioned where you have to see conservation stewardship practices. You mentioned the $4,500 being the minimum, and that's the minimum on conservation stewardship, or that's the minimum on another program?
Conservation stewardship program is a 5-year program, and you get a 1 annual payment, right, for the enhancements and practices that we include on this application.
Right.
And the minimum payment on that is $4,000 a year. You could have a hoop house, right, and it's 1/10 of an acre, and we can schedule all of the practices that pay X amount of dollars per acre, and it may only come to $1,000 worth of payment. Well, they're gonna subsidize that payment and give you $4,000 a year.
Right, okay. And again, to make sure that the public is, but now, that was a restriction that you mentioned, that being 4 to 5 years actual production.
Yes.
Does that apply with urban agriculture as well?
No, that was just for the conservation stewardship program.
No, I understand, but CSP can be applied with urban agriculture.
Yes, anything that you apply for through the stewardship program has to be in production for the last 6 years.
So an individual purchased, want to become an urban farm, and he purchased a half-acre lot, smaller, and went to FSA and got the farm number. He qualified for EQIP, but wouldn't qualify for CSP.
Basically, yes, that's right.
Okay. Now, this question. If you don't want to do a comprehensive plan for that individual, would it be beneficial for an organization, for NRCS to work with them in a manner that 5-year period, the compliance period for EQIP is what, 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're gonna do an EQIP contract, you can incorporate CSP practices in that contract.
You can incorporate EQIP practices into CSP, but the enhancements we do through CSP aren't offered through EQIP.
Let me make sure I get some clarity on it. If I'm doing an EQIP contract, that's a 5-year period.
EQIP or CSP?
I'm talking EQIP now.
Okay.
EQIP now. So one, I would, before that EQIP contract compliance period expired, you would have met the eligibility timeline of 5 years for CSP.
Yeah. So through the stewardship program, we would recognize and give you bonus points, and it would help your score if those are practices that are existing on that grant.
That's my point for EQIP.
Yeah, that would
incorporation of CSP and EQIP.
Yes, that will help your score.
Okay, that's okay. So in other words, I guess what I want to make sure the public understand that when you talk about the conservation stewardship practices practice a different program up to what, $250,000 per contract, 400.
It is $200,000 per person. So if you have a partnership, you can basically get $4,000 per year on government programs, right, through a payment through government program.
Okay. So if your partnership is the same farm number, you go to 400,000, it's 2 people.
Correct.
Okay, but the one person on 200,000. Correct. I'm looking for a partner. But and it is a point system. So when we're doing in Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation, we work with individuals in doing this, both making the application, not assigned to the application process for EQIP, micro urban farm. So when you incorporate in an EQIP contract application, these CSP practices, you get higher points and a better chance for you being awarded a contract. Basically, what I was getting to, on that when we say to incorporate it. Not only have you dealt with having a better understanding of CSP or conservation stewardship practices within the context of the first compliance or the first phase of being a beginning farmer and an urban farmer. But at the end of that 5-year, well, you can't qualify in 4 years, after 4 years for CSP, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But at the end of the 4 years, you can then sign up for CSP, the conservation stewardship practice, with a minimum of $4,000 payment annually, even as an urban farmer, even on a lot. That's one. Okay. But be mindful, and you correct me if I'm wrong. You cannot, that means that whatever you put in that CSP contract, those certain practices, you must have ended those practices in a 4-year time period. So when you sign up in that 5th year, they're not gonna do what's called double dipping.
Right.
Okay, so when you sign up in the 5th year for CSP, you cannot show where that practice is already being implemented under the EQIP. It must, and that there's a contract time period of when those practices or when these activities are gonna be implemented. As far as the point system is concerned, 1, you may only do them for 3 years, okay? Those practices being as such, when you sign up for CSP, it's gonna be an enhancement, you know, it's gonna be added value on those practices when you go in the 5th year on that. So you get the benefit of the program benefits, and that's only $4,000 minimum. It might be $8,000 that you qualify for, depending on the practice you're gonna be applying. So I think we got clarity on that now.
Yeah, now, you can go above and beyond, like say you can sign up through cover crop through EQIP with one species of cover crop, okay? You can sign up, we can add it to either another EQIP application or the CSP application for multi-species cover crop. You can go above and beyond, but you just can't double dip on the same.
Right, on the same exact type. Yeah, that's basically. So you may not be doing cover crops, you may be doing mulching practices, doing the first startup basis of it, and you go into cover crops, a crop rotation within the context of that hoop house that you're going to be able to enhance the practices after that 4th year of signing up for the 5th year. I understand, but I just want to make sure that everyone else, that we all on the same. See, you didn't talk about that when we first started off. I just want to make sure we got a clarity. Okay. All right. Next thing, we have with NRCS conservation. You said land areas only on the conservation easement, but now as I understand, the forestry land also belongs.
Yes.
Okay, but that wouldn't be crop protection land.
No, it on the easement side, it would, I believe you have to match, it has to be, if I have 20 acres here, if 10 of it is cropland and 10 of it is forest land, I can say you have to match however many acres are in crop. If you have just 10 acres of forest land, there's other practices we can, or other programs we can find to enter that somewhere.
No, maybe you don't get a forestry law, but under the conservation easement, foresters are eligible, for a conservation easement. So if I wanted to put my forestry into a conservation easement program, sign up to be conservation easement, but you would just have to implement certain practices on that forestry land.
It wouldn't be through the wetland easement program.
No,
not a different program.
No, not the wetland, but you have more than one easement program.
You're talking EQIP or easement?
No, not EQIP, just easement.
Easement. Oh yeah, there's several easements.
Right.
The major one around here that I've dealt with mostly is WRU. And
what's the wetland?
We can find another program.
Right. Okay. Just for a little clarity, I just want to make sure we under the easement we have conservation easement. It's not just crop production. It's both forestry as well as crop production. Both on it was 15 years alternative. 15 or 30 years.
15, 30, or 10, 15, and 30 in perpetual.
What's the difference as far as payment is concerned? If you're doing a permanent easement, perpetual type easement, what's the payment level for perpetual versus a 10-year or 15-year?
Honestly, I don't know because I've never seen a 10 or 30 year get funded.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why?
The score. That program, the wetland reserve is so competitive. It's statewide, it's so competitive that you really have to score higher. The major ones that get in are huge tracts, and they're mostly huge wetland areas around rivers, around Stuttgart, just lower areas. And they really have to score high to get in. That's why the RCPP with the KKAC organization is, I think, will be popular because you don't have to have the minimum, and it's focusing on the smaller tracts of land.
So really, so RCPP, if you're going in for RCPP, and to use the easement with smaller acreage, those type projects, well, that particular one that's been done, I think there are a couple of others as well, including, so you can go with smaller acreage or smaller farms and forestry.
I don't know.
It's not necessarily wetland.
Yeah, I don't know for sure because we focus mainly on the WRE, and I knew that the KKC organization was focusing on the WRE. I don't know why it wouldn't, but it's I'm sure it was just the easement program. So it's mimicking the conservation easement program. So I'm sure there'd be a forestry side in it too.
What's some of the criteria or areas on the wetland? I'm just only going to use the wetland versus the others right now.
Marginal ground. We have an application being put in now that one of our actually a board member, he farms it, but the family that owns it, there's a little 10-acre spot down at the bottom of it that's just not farmable. And he pays some rent on that, but he's not actually farming it. So he doesn't want it, but it's part of the farm. And so they're wanting to cut that off and enroll it in this easement project. And then that way it will forever be an easement, a wetland easement, and wetland. So they still own it and everything, and they pay them. I think the cap was $3,809 for irrigated cropland,
right,
per acre,
right,
and it'll forever be theirs, and it'll forever be in that easement. You just can't farm it. He didn't have to farm it.
But that's a large farm. Mm-hmm. Large land.
Well, the whole farm is, yeah, but there's a little 10 acres down here at the bottom that's not farmable. Okay. Because it's always wet.
Okay, I'm looking for clarity now. Are you saying he took 10 acres off of a large farm and put it into a small easement program, a special project, or that one got the points and it was eligible, but it was only 10 acres involved.
Right.
But there was a lot of land involved, but because there was a lot of land involved, that person was able to take 10 acres and put it into a wetland reserve program.
The rest of the farm stays like it is, and he's just farming it like normal. They're still making.
I understand.
Yeah, but they cut off that 10 acres and enrolled it into this program.
Was that through that special RCPP program, or was that just with the regular wetland reserve program?
That was the RCPP program.
That was RCPP.
Yeah, it's just I'm just using it for an example. It's in the application process now.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to make sure. I thought you split a small farm, when you say big land was.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. The other area we didn't get it's $3,800 and I know under the wetland reserve, but under the easement period, roughly some 3,000. I think the $3,800 that's on irrigated, not irrigated. What's that? $2,300.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, and again, you're looking for big acreage or medium-sized acreage, say 100 acres.
In the actual WRE program, yeah, there has to be a 20-acre minimum to apply.
Yeah, that's why you do 100.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you have 100 acres, yeah, we can apply. We can put that in an application.
But I could do 20 to 40 acres.
You could.
Okay. But it's gonna be hard to get 20 acres, 40 acres.
That's right.
Get a score high enough because I'm competing against 1,000 acres.
That's right.
That don't seem right.
That's why the KKC organization started that one.
Yeah, but shit doesn't seem right. That's what I got to feel. But that's just me. I'm an advocate.
If you have 20 acres and it's bordering one of those thousands that got in years ago, that would help it score too.
You knock that out.
There's just many things that can affect the score of it.
Okay, so an individual that has small acres that's contiguous with a larger acre could get a higher score than one that's sitting next to another smaller land. Right. Okay. All right. Under those criteria to deal with conservation easement and forestry, that's an item under the wetland reserve. 4,500 under the minimum under the CSP program.
Just
after 4 years.
Not 4,500.
I mean, just 4,000. I'm trying to give a tip. little bonus point there. $4,000 on that. And $20,700+ for the equip program.
For the high tone.
For the high tone. And we know how to put that plan together.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody, again, we do that. That's what we work with people on. Individuals, if dealing with what we call urban agriculture, farm, equip being a real major part of that. And when I say a real major part of it, that financial assistance is very key to the feasibility of those urban farms and getting them started, because you can practically produce year round with those. Once you put the hoop houses in, you can practically produce year round, and there are other market opportunities. We're not gonna have time to get into all that right now, but I know Mr. Williams looked at me and said, I am overtime is normal, as usual. Can I get this a couple to FSL on this?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm excited. I thought you were gonna miss it.
No, yeah, I was not.
It's kind of like a job interview.
No, it happened normally. I go the gender first back, but RD, I just had so many questions I had to ask them on the front, in particular when they had to do with the population, city limit areas, and I was wanting to see if I could get them on the sunset question. And I did. I got it on the sunset question. But FSA, I know we talked about the financing side and the loan guarantee, direct loan side, $50,000 that being the micro loan, $400,000 for the direct loan. Now, I may have missed this. I know we talked about the $50,000 on the operating loan side, yes, but then we talked about the capital side of $50,000.
That is inclusive of. It's just like the 400,000. It has to be split between 50,000 is the aggregate limit for annual needs and for like your equipment.
Right. So, I want to make sure. So if I'm applying for an operating loan as a micro urban farmer.
Yes.
And my loan is, and I've been farming 4 years, and my eligibility now. So
you've been farming a long time then for a micro loan.
No, I'm farming a lot of loans for 20+ years.
Okay.
Actually, but on the operating side, so $50,000.
Yes, sir.
Micro loan.
Yes, sir.
If I applied or not, and I've been farming 4 years already. I know the 3-year eligibility, side. I've been farming for 4 years.
Do you have a successful business?
Do I have a schedule now?
Successful business.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, start looking for you a land loan too, so you can expand your business under that micro lending program.
What I'm looking for now is that I've been farming for this period of time. Like, I don't do that full time, but I've been farming, so I've been doing okay. But I've been renting my land.
Yes.
I've been renting my land. So I come in and I want a direct loan for $20,000.
Okay.
For a little equipment add on to my urban farm we've been doing. But I see some land I want to purchase, but I need $30,000. Okay.
We actually have 2 separate $50,000.
That's the question right there.
For land
the capital side
and operating purchases. So that capital, that land that you're going to buy and equity for your children falls under that the separate $50,000 limit. So our total micro loan operating limit is 100,000 for both sides. Yes.
Okay, that's all I'm doing.
When are you gonna save me?
No, well,
when are you gonna send somebody to me?
We're gonna be getting a lot of them over there. We're really trying to get this stuff and going a lot more now on the urban farm side, because there's some great opportunities on that. But I just want to make sure we're clear that the actual max is 100,000, 50,000 on the capital side, 50,000 on the operating side. And if you get the 30 or 40,000 on the capital side, it does not affect the 50,000 when you pay that off to come back the next year for the operating side.
And I do also I didn't really touch on interest rates when I had the podium. Our interest rates change monthly. They're normally 3 to 4% lower than commercial lending.
Right.
And I want to, add that we have a participation loan. So if you have somebody, it can be a microloan. Well, I would turn it into a participation loan. If they found a larger piece of real estate, or if they wanted to start, like you said, expanding a smaller operation, if they could borrow 50,000 from us, and if they could find a commercial lender that would give them 50,000, or if the land was 40,000, they got 20 from us and 20 from a commercial lender. Our interest rate right now is, I believe, either 3.5 or 3 3/4. So what I would prefer to do on that is run their payments both ways to see if it would benefit the farmer more to borrow all of the money from me, or to get them a relationship started with the commercial lender.
We're almost there, but you got the participation. You have and we talked about the NRCS, the Conservation Equip Program. Well, there'll be a lot of diversity, a lot of activity based on needs. And I'm gonna use land bank, a lot area that they're dealing with. And we're putting a hoop house in, but we have a lot of undergrowth that need to be taken out. Of course, that becomes a part. You can't put that in, am I right, on NRCS, on some of the practices, if you have to clear some undergrowth out, surrounding areas, trees, and expand the productivity of that land area that qualifies under the EQIP as one of the practices itself.
Not clearing ground, not just clearing ground.
No, I didn't say clear, I said undergrowth.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray area. I don't understand really what you're asking.
Okay, I go ahead and get a forestry management plan.
Okay.
Because normally I would suggest if I'm gonna do, and we're doing a half acre, and I may have this acre, and a half acre that is open. I'm putting a hoop house in, but in addition to that, I want to do a pollination program, a pollination area, and that would have to be an inclusion, but it would be into the wooded area.
Okay.
Because pollination and take some bees and things of that nature. Okay. So the undergrowth needs to be taken out. So I need to do that.
That would come under either site preparation or freestanding improvement.
But it's a practice.
Sure.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Okay. So it is a practice. Okay, let's go back to participation. So we got a maximum of $20,700. I put that practice in. No, I'll come back to you.
Oh, okay.
I'm coming back to financing side of it. So we got the undergrowth taken out. I'm doing a pollination part. I'm writing my application up before it's going in. It scores high that it goes in. I'm taking out I'm going to I've got $20,700. I need $3,000 more dollars to do some of the work on conservation needs that has to be done, need to be done on that property. Okay. Can you finance that?
We
under the micro side?
Yes, we can. It would probably be better to have that land clearing plan in place before you come to me for a loan, because we have certain environmental standards that we have to uphold, especially if there's any, like, a hoop house, it's a fixture. You wouldn't want to.
This is outside of the hoop house, right? It's not in the hoop house. It's the hoop house is on. I'm gonna take an acre. The half acre is what the hoop house is going to take, but they got another half acre that's doing surrounding our depth inclusion. These are the practices based on planning forest reserve and the conservation practice be applied, right? But I get another $2,000.
Yes,
to get on.
but I'm still gonna say, to be on the safe side, to have your plan in place within RCS to, if you're doing any ground clearance, because I wouldn't want, I know in our typical construction loan, the loan that you're talking about, we can do. I have not personally done a lot of those loans, but to err on the side of caution, like when we have a construction loan or a fixture loan, if any dirt is moved before the loan application is made to me, it can knock them out of environmental eligibility. Unless I have something from NRCS saying, we've okayed this, we're working with them. Also, to take that a step further, with the cost sharing that you were talking about, if they are financing a hoop house, I and this is not my area of expertise, I've only had, cases where it's happened. I believe they don't get the money from NRCS until the project is completed. We can actually provide a bridge type loan, so we can loan the money necessary to complete that project. And then when the money is received from NRCS, they can put that back toward the loan.
I said they put it into the farm business plan.
Yes.
Program
Yes,
income.
sir. Yes, sir.
Program income side, long should be to the income, to the debt retirement basis of it.
Yes, sir.
I understand. I agree.
And
So, no, you're clear. I just want to make sure. And the reason I say that because when you start to talk about you mentioned land bank, we do want to look at more of that from a community economic development side and working with cities. You do have lots like that and sometimes open space. There is a situation where there's a need to do undergrowth takeout, other type of conservation practice that and cost that may exceed what the equal is, no cap is on that. But for those individuals, no, whenever you're talking about community economic development, agriculture, community economic development, and urban agriculture perspective, you do have to look at it from a very comprehensive perspective. My last question, Ms. Williams, but I know at times out FSA program side.
Sir.
On the program side, FSA. I know you talked about some of the things you're doing. I'm gonna ask one, don't they have some programs that are presently open right now, sign up period, and it's time sensitive on the disaster 22, I think fiscal year 2022?
Yes, sir, there's a August 14th deadline, 16th.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention some about that. We kind of missed that coming down the line because we're back on the program side now. Is it August what?
Double check. August 14th deadline on that.
Okay. Now, that's for individuals that what?
Had a disaster in 2022.
And that's the vegetable farms and all, right?
Yes.
Urban farm, oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, they're coming to sign up for it.
Yes.
But August 15th, it's called the emergency, is it ERP?
ERP 2022 track team.
Exactly, okay. But that is open right now, ERP program possibility. The other one you did mention was what I call mitigating risk. How does that work?
Now, okay, so you get your farm all set up with us, and you say you want to participate in that. It's a type of insurance program. If you have a natural disaster, and have to pay you on your natural disaster. We have had hoop houses that have tried it. It's a lot of paperwork for, if we're talking about a hoop house, not much money. So we have had participants, but I don't think it's a fantastic program that's currently set up for small urban farmers. Just because of the amount of work.
So how do you calculate the loss on an urban farmer? I mean, when you say it's not beneficial, I mean, you can't calculate the same as a regular farmer.
Right. We a giant farmer or a small farmer, we send out a loss adjuster. They work out what the loss was, the amount of acreage, and like I said, we have had it happen on hoop house before, and the participant was not happy because of the amount of effort it took them to not get much money out of it.
So if I'm gonna raise and say I have some squash, of course we can calculate it all the way down to based on rows and everything, but I'm not gonna get into all that. I have to wait till somebody comes to us that consistence and see if we have to challenge that and if nobody's getting paid more. We also do that work too. That's all I have, Ms. Williams. Okay. I apologize for my overtime, but I just had to get everybody about something.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're happy you didn't leave them out. All right, thank each and every one of you all for coming, taking up the time to listen to us, panelists. Thank you, USDA family, FSA, NRCS, and Rural Development. Thank you so much. We have complimentary drinks and snack back there. Make sure that you take them. Also, we as Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation want to thank you, and we are hoping that you have increased knowledge regarding USDA services that's available for you. An increased knowledge of community-based principles and options to advance racial equity and the farming business operation and throughout the communities. So, and hope you have gained a better understanding of things that you didn't or was not aware of.
Mr. I just want to make sure, I want to say, anyone who would want to get assistance from our office, Arkansas Human Development Corporation, we have an office that's based in Forest City at 831 North Washington Street.
Yes.
You can visit us there, be much closer. Of course, our base office is located out of Fargo, Arkansas. It's sort of like Sunset the area there, but it's located out of Fargo, Arkansas, at 484 Fort Brown Drive. The phone number for the main office is 870-734-3005. And the phone number for the Core City office is, Ms. Williams?
870, that's 594-8028 or 870-594-8994.
But everything we've talked about here today, the questions that we've asked to all of our resource representatives here, we are partnered with USDA, don't get me wrong. You know, we're definitely partnered with USDA, but we do like to make sure we try to have our discussions, our roundtable discussions, that the information is something that is clearly understood, you know, by those that we work with. And two, you know, we like to let folks know we understand the program. Is what, do y'all think we understand the program? Okay, that we do understand the program, that we, as we do our work, as a partner with USDA and providing other technical support and assistance and support that you may need as a potential client to USDA. We just try to facilitate the process and do what's necessary to try to bridge that gap and whether disparity exists. That's all I have.
Also, we would like for each one of you to do a client intake form and evaluation form.
We will probably have this, hopefully we'll have it, once I review it, if I didn't mess up on this one very bad, we'll probably have this up on our website a little later. So those who may have missed it online or in person, then we direct people back to it at a later date. We may note it, check the website, you'll see the outreach meeting and the resource representatives in Crittenden County, one USDA.
Our next meeting is August 8th in Pine Bluff, Jefferson County area. Thank you. Have a safe one.